Frederick, I also wanted to talk to you about the political moment we're in, because in the past you've served as a surrogate for both Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, presidential candidates. I was a very big supporter of Bernie Sanders, and obviously, didn't get what I want in any way. But Biden has now won the presidency, and while he's still weeks away from being inaugurated, I think it's 50 days as of us filming this. We are seeing a little bit about, for instance, his picks for his cabinet for some positions. That's caused a lot of controversy over the past few days. As someone who is an outspoken supporter of more progressive candidates, what are you making of the days since the election?
I mean, I think it's exactly what I expected. To be quite frank with you, even during the election, everyone was saying we could push him left. I'm someone who kind of pushed that rhetoric and narrative on my platforms just because of the fact that Trump is so terrible. But to be really frank, Joe Biden is not doing anything other than what Joe Biden was going to ever do. I think that even in a debate with Donald Trump, he said, I'm up here because I'm not the rest of them. Speaking of the progressive candidates, so on and so forth. So at this point, I think that the progressive base has to start strategically thinking, well, how do we force him not to go left, but how do we force him to actually be accountable to the people, right? Like Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer have been pushing for Biden to cancel $50,000 in student debt. And I think within a few hours, he said 10K, maybe, right? And this shows that we need more strategy, because even his cabinet picks, they leave much to be desired, right? I know a lot of people have said, oh, his comms team, I think it's an entire comms team comprised of women. But there are also many women who are on the progressive end of things saying, well, you didn't include any progressive women, right? Yeah. So we have to stop looking at identity politics. And I think that's what this administration is gonna be. It's gonna be pure identity politics of, okay, there are people from various backgrounds, but what do they actually stand for? So I'm not disappointed, because it's an expectation at this point.
It's funny because like as Biden was running and we're getting closer to the election, it took me a while to process the fact that Bernie had lost once again, and that this time it was worse because he's unlikely to run in the future. This was like a more enduring loss than it was back in 2016. And I told my followers, we've got a choice between these two, and really it's about choosing who you want your opponent to be. And yet I do see a lot of people who I think months ago, if you'd asked them who's Biden, what's he's gonna do, they had a good read of it, being kind of like really feeling betrayed by some of these picks. And to me, it seems like almost forgetting that we lost, or thinking, hey, maybe we didn't really lose. Like maybe Biden will be shockingly good, when there hadn't really been much evidence that that was going to be the case. And I think it's almost like sort of an aftershock of grief to discover, no, it's probably gonna be like we thought it might, and he's gonna choose Neera Tanden, and John Kerry's the best we can hope for on the climate, and that sort of thing. It's difficult to work through. What do you think about, because you seem pretty level-headed about what he's likely to do? Are there any spots where you feel like you do still have an expectation that he could deliver some form of what you want in some policy area, maybe?
No, and the reason I say that is because it's not just about the cabinet. I think that there's a trickle down effect to even more local elections, and I think there's just kind of a national gaslighting right now, to be quite frank with you, of you can't even be critical of Biden or his administration at this point without being attacked as like being pro-Trump or being anti-America. And I think that's because Trump polarized critique so much, right? So now where we're at, I don't feel good about anything that's going to happen. I said recently, like when he chose Neera Tanden, I think I said one thing about it on Twitter, and I was lambasted as some evil Bernie bro. People couldn't even understand pure critique of the things that she's actually done. So I don't know that there's an area that we can find where there's gonna actually be true change, or someone who aligns with my values. Even in criminal justice, we just came out of one of the greatest moments of accountability for police and white supremacy in this country, only to be given a candidate who says things like, well, shoot him in the leg instead, right? As opposed to defunding the police. So, I'm not too high on it right now. I don't really know what area, we could look at.
This is probably going to be a question looking too far in the future because Biden isn't even inaugurated yet. But it seems like the odds of him running for a second term are probably pretty low. I mean, he's already going to be the oldest president ever sworn in. And Kamala Harris is going to have 4 years of being a national figure as the VP. In 4 years, presumably, more of the Democratic base will be even more progressive than it was through sort of generational change and all of that. What do you think about her future based on what we're seeing right now? Do you think that it's going to be a continuation of sort of Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, or is she going to stake out a more progressive future for herself when she clearly wants to run for president again at some point?
I think that by technical stance, Kamala will end up being the most progressive person at her level in history, but that's just from a technical standpoint, right? Like I think she had the most progressive voting history in the Senate, but that also was because many other senators like Bernie, like Elizabeth Warren, so on and so forth, abstained from voting on certain things. So that's a soundbite that goes around, but that's actually the reality of how that works. So with her, it's interesting. I think she's movable in many ways that Biden is not, because I think at the end of the day, Biden is an old white guy, right? Like she's a woman of color. And that does actually mean something. She's surrounded by people who are black and brown people and are suffering within America. Biden actually, frankly, he is, I don't want to say a soundbite that gets me put out there, but he's of the same machine as many people on the right? Like, and I don't know that Kamala is exactly that. And that little bit of hope is what I think can show her difference.
Interesting. I mean, of course, we're gonna be seeing she's gonna be there. Vice presidents don't generally have a lot of autonomous power, but Biden is probably not gonna be the strongest, most vigorous president. So if there's an opening, it'll be with Biden as president. We'll have to see what she does in advance of that eventual run. But Frederick Joseph, thank you once again for joining us. Your book is The Black Friend, available now. We really appreciate you joining us today on the show.
Thanks for having me, John.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.